present James with his book, Never Mad Again, which I would love to read.
Yeah, what? Hi, thank you very much all for coming. It's a pleasure to be with these authors, which books are just great. My book is Never Mad Again. So if you might help me a little bit, I want to know if I am talking to the right audience. Maybe you don't get mad, so I'm not talking to the right one. If you might raise your hand, whoever got mad or angry or experienced anger today.
I was mad today.
Couple, yeah, not bad. What about last week? Did anybody experience any kind of anger last week? Hey, my wife is not supposed to. What about last month? Did anybody got that feeling last month? Raise your hand. All right, so it's the right audience. Anger is an emotion we all experience, but the thing here is that we experience it a lot, and sometimes we don't even notice that we experience anger. We notice when we get really mad and we shout and we scream, or we just like start shaking. And yeah, we feel that, but there's a kind of anger that we don't experience that much. For example, when we're in a conversation and we're just talking with friends or family, and the other person is not thinking like I am. Like, for example, there's two persons talking about the movies, and then one says, did you see The Descendants? Did you watch The Descendants? Oh yeah, I did. And was it good? No, I didn't like it. But it was a great movie. I mean, it won a Golden Globe, so it's supposed to be a good movie. Yeah, but I didn't like it. It's too slow. I don't know. I was almost sleeping in the movie. I didn't like it. And the other one says, well, George Clooney has one of the best performances in that movie. And so it can go on and go on and go on. And we don't notice, but we are angry because the other person, we did not convince the other person of our thoughts. But we don't notice that because we do that in most of the conversations we have. We are not a good listeners. If somebody is, great, but majority of us are just thinking about what to say to the other person when the other person is talking instead of just listening. So we're experiencing anger on a daily basis. And, for most of the people experience anger much more times than happiness. So, at the end of it, anger is just an emotion, and emotions are just emotions, Mark says, as Jay says. But at the end, anger is an emotion that doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good to be angry. And it has consequences that sometimes feel worse than the simple anger. When we are angry, we say things we didn't mean to say. And we hurt people that we love. And most of our relationships that are broken, most of them are because of anger. Because there was some kind of anger at some point and we didn't have the patience to talk again or stuff like that. And so anger is an emotion that feels unpleasant. It has consequences, and we experience a lot. So, can we get out of anger? One of the things that people does is reprehend anger, and that's even worse. Then sickness come along, and maybe you explode at some time. You're just keeping your anger, and at some point you just explode with somebody else. And maybe that somebody else is not even the person that you were angry at the first time, but it happens. So there's this passage from A Course in Miracles, which says that I am never angry for the reason I think I am. And I was thinking about that, and then I heard this other phrase that helped me understand that pretty much. It's just, if we know why we get angry, A Course in Miracles says that we don't know the reason because we get angry, because it's something else of what I think. But if we know the reason because we get angry, then it's easier to find a way out of anger. If we don't know why we get angry, well, it's just going to go and go and go. So this phrase is the only reason in the world why you get mad or angry is because somebody else thinks differently than you. And it sounds so simple. It is simple. It's not easy. But it might be truth. It might be truth that there's only one reason in the world because we get mad, because somebody else is not thinking like I do. Let's go back to the Descendants. And the other person thinks it's a great movie. I mean, Golden Globe Awards. But the other one was just sleeping at the movie. I mean, didn't like it. But gets mad because I did not convince the other person that this is my point of view. And I want to convince her because I know I'm right. I mean, I didn't like it. But there's a big chance that the other person did like it. I mean, there's a lot of people that like it. So we try to convince others during conversations, during relationships, that we really are right and the other person is wrong. And the ego, like some of the authors would say here, is the one that wants to be right all the time. The ego says, oh no, you're right. And if you're wrong, then I die, the ego says. And the ego doesn't want to die. He's just afraid of dying. So he tells you, all right, no, I don't want to die. Just convince the other person that you're right. I mean, it was a great movie. I like it. And that's just a small example of a simple conversation that we have every day. But marriages can just break down because the other person is thinking differently than I am. So if we understand this, and if we find that there is only one reason that I get mad, and not 100,000 reasons because I thought that before, then it's easier to deal with it. Then if I find that I get mad because somebody else is thinking differently than I do, then I have a choice. I can be mad or not because there's a pretty large chance that there's a lot of people thinking differently than you outside. We all think differently. And we may agree at some stuff, but for other thoughts we won't. So there's a big chance that I'm going to get mad at everyone, because everyone might think differently than I do in certain stuff, in certain things. So when you realize this, when you realize there's only one reason that we get mad, and you start dealing with it, then you find that, yeah, they think differently than I do. And that's not bad. It doesn't mean they think something wrong. It's just they're different. They come from different backgrounds. They come from different educations, different countries, different states. Maybe they were first children or last. So when you realize this, then you start seeing relationships in a different way. Because you start finding out that forgiving other people, it's easier because they think differently. Maybe if you thought they were wrong, maybe they're not wrong. They just think in the way they think is right. And maybe their egos are trying to tell them, to convince you that you're wrong and they're right. But you start to forgive people easily, without the need to forgive people, because we've been taught that we need to forgive them. And when you understand this, you don't need to forgive them. You just forgive them. And then you start having better relationships. You start living in peace, which is the reason why I wrote this book. So people can find a way. Maybe this is not the way for them, but maybe it is. Find a way to peace. We all try to look happiness, and it's very common that the human being try to look for happiness. But in peace, we can find happiness, and it evolves a lot of things. It evolves much more than just happiness that it can last for a few moments, but it can last for much more. So I think there's a way out of anger, and I think we can find all peace, and I think it's easier than we think. So there's some people that ask me if it's possible to be never mad again. I do believe it is. No, we never question that. Is it possible to be never happy again? And there's people in this world that's never happy again. And they have to take pills to be happy. And they don't do the job. And it would be great if you can take a pill to be never mad again. I would be selling them. But it's not. It's a process. But it's a process that we can enjoy. And we can learn a lot about that. So, yeah, for me it is possible to be never mad again. It's just, we didn't know we have a choice. We thought that we get angry because we're humans. It's in our nature. Yeah, maybe it is, but we can act instead of react. And at some point, I believe that we can go toward peace instead of anger. Thank you.
Did anyone have any questions?